do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the f*** is that, dude?
Evening, folks. Not the most auspicious start to a show, I've got to tell you. In the last 35, 40 seconds or so, I've managed to knock something over that is, well, thankfully I'm flat, so it's not running all over the floor. It made a bit of a mess. A little bit disappointing. So, right, we'll try not to... Oh, shit. Well, the show might be a bit interesting because it's all over my notes to a point where I can't actually reach it all at the moment, and the notebook is soaking it up. So I think I'll have to leave that down there for the time being. This could be interesting. We'll see how it all goes, shall we? How's life, the universe, and everything in your part of the world? Bloody cold, I would say, is what it's like in my part of the world, although today it has been a reasonably nice day up the top of the hill here. In other parts, certainly down, I believe, on the Gold Coast and through parts of Brisbane, it was raining pretty hard. I was speaking to somebody who was in Melbourne yesterday. God, love Melbourne in winter. Melbourne's temperature range yesterday was 1 to 11, apparently. So 1 degree felt like -4, and it got as high as 9 throughout the whole day. I fondly remember my years living in Melbourne. Working, I used to live in St Kilda and Elstonwick, Elwood, down that way. And I was working in Richmond at a radio station there, and I was part of the breakfast team. So we were coming into work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can tell you that the only other place that was, I'm going to say colder, but I don't know that it was colder. It was probably on a par, certainly colder at times, was Canberra. But, oh, God, if you've ever lived in Melbourne, and God knows anybody who's walked around the city and had one of those strong southerlies come through you, the winds in Melbourne don't go around you. They just blow straight through you. And unless you are rugged up, ready for it, and you really need to go to Europe to buy your winter wear, even some of the bigger, heavier stuff in Melbourne doesn't keep out that cold. However, I did find a solution while I was there many, many years ago, and they were all the rage. I think John Farnham might have started it. Overcoats. And I had a microfiber overcoat that for better part of 4 years was the only thing I ever wore walking outside, aside from jeans and a T-shirt. I didn't need to have jumpers and wind cheaters and all that sort of stuff. This microfiber overcoat. And I remember at the time it cost stupid money for what I was making. It was like $400, something like that. And I bought it on one of the cheapest streets in Melbourne, Ackland Street in St Kilda. And I've got to say, though, for $400, it was a hell of an investment. And eventually it fell apart. Must have taken, probably close to 10 years for that to happen. I really didn't want to get rid of it. It was one of those things I was happy to wear around and with holes in it until it fell off me, because surprisingly, it was still very warm. But yeah, haven't had a jacket that warm again, unless we're counting the one I'm looking at just around my corner here that's hanging up behind us. And that's the one that Black Sheep handed me in Tasmania when I got off the plane there a couple of years back. And that's a hell of a warm jacket. That's a Milwaukee heater jacket with batteries and the whole deal. Hand warmers, sock warmers, keep your hand up your bum warmer. It's a bloody hell of a jacket, that thing. And has saved my ass on more than one occasion. The problem with it is you get a bit dependent on the battery, and for whatever reason, it tends to suck them fairly quickly. I've found the easiest, if I have to tell you, one of the easiest ways to make it work is to turn it on, heat the jacket up, and then turn the thing off, because your body heat sort of amplifies what's in the thing. Otherwise, it gets very, very hot. Maybe I shouldn't have left it on all that time. Who knew? So yeah, that's probably the other warmest jacket I've ever had. But overcoats in Melbourne this time of year, very definitely, I would think, would be the go. And I feel for anybody in the construction game. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anybody still working in the construction game in Victoria? So many companies have gone under. I'm wondering, but yeah, the guys on the high rise, anywhere this time of year, south of probably Rockhampton, is always going to be a little bit uncomfortable, I suppose. Who got into the room first up tonight? Let me get up at the top here and start saying hello. It's been a while since we've had a bit of a chat, so if you've got any questions, throw them in now, and by the time I get down the bottom, we should be able to get to the question time. Rachel, speaking of cold-bloody, how are you, darling? Rach was first in the room, and happy birthday to everybody, right on the dot of 6 o'clock. Happy Toys Day to you too, Rach. Tasweja. Rach is in Tasmania, and I want to say, I'm not going to identify north, south, east, or west. The simple fact of the matter is everywhere in Tasmania was cold, and probably still is. One of the surprising things I found about Tasmania in my time down there, with Black Sheep driving me around, and we basically did the East Coast from memory. Yes. East have much more, and Black Sheep's through it. Let's put it that way. We'll have to do something about that next time we get to Tassie. I really wanted to get to there this year, but it turns out you've got a book to go next year if you want to get there this year, and hope for a cancellation. It is stupidly expensive. I don't know what the Tasmanian government are doing, allowing a privateer to charge these sorts of prices. They are really monopolising the journey, and they are curtailing the ability of people in Tasmania to make a living out of tourism. There is a high demand for people wanting to travel to Tasmania, and having been there once now, I can say in all my years, I'm ashamed to say it's the only time I've been there in all this time. It is such a beautiful place, and I was lucky enough to have a local show me around some of the places, particularly along the East Coast. Although I was still getting acclimatized at that stage, and while he was talking, I was wrapped up in his electrified coat and a balaclava and gloves on my hands, still shaking. But we stopped and had beautiful meals in different parts of the road along the way. Penguin is a standout, only because I have a very dear friend and family. His mates, his brothers, who are my mates, were born in Penguin. So it was lovely to be able to say I've been to Penguin, and I have photos with the penguin in Penguin. Who knew? Beautiful part of the world. If you get the opportunity to go down there, but God, if you want to go and take a caravan or a motorhome down there, you seriously have to book near enough to 12 months in advance. And if you are lucky, they might bump you forward if you are flexible enough to move that way. But I don't get the feeling that there's too many cancellations. And okay, there's only a certain amount of space on the ferry to get not just the tourist traffic or locals who have been on the mainland for whatever reason and taken their vehicle over. It's also the huge amount of trucks that need to go over. Now, I don't think that they take the prime movers. I think they, in most cases, I think they'll probably just put like the trailers on. But there will be trucks that are not separate to a trailer, 10 tonners and that sort of thing. And they'll be taking produce or goods over, and they'll be maybe coming back in, I suspect coming back with a load as well. Is there call, or is there already a freight service that goes over any more regularly than the public ferries? Is there any way that the pricing on the ferries is premium? I mean, it really stupidly expensive. I mean, you can go on an international cruise for 14 days for less than it'll cost you to take this with a little trailer on it over there, or towing a tow car. In fact, I wonder whether or not they charge me twice because it's a car, not a trailer being towed, because that's the kind of almost predatory pricing that they seem to be employing. So I really feel for the Tasmanian public, because they are losing such a huge amount of money from people who want to come over and spend time. And I think we talked about it earlier this year when I was looking at it. The plan was to attempt to head over in February, March, and I was looking at that in December of last year. There were 2 dates in late March that I could get on the ferry, but I couldn't get back from Tasmania until the end of July. I mean, how's that reasonable? So, okay, I know ferries that go across Bass Strait, not an easy bit of water, probably hard to come by. But, surely there are cargo vessels that can take more containers over, or more. That might be the issue. Cargo boats can't really take truck trailers. I don't know, probably an issue. There'll be a bloody excuse. It needs to get better, because the folks in Tasmania have so many beautiful products, stuff they make, stuff, made from nature, a lot of it, and truly some of the most beautiful people I've ever met. So Rachel and I haven't met, but next time I come over, Rachel, we will, have no doubt. There'll be a black sheep tagging along with me, because I just know he's going to be like that. Macca was next in the room, mate. Good to see you in. Hello, Margot, Brett, and personal account. That's very personal of you, personal account. It's nice to have you in. Margot, it's been a while. I think I saw you say somewhere in the chat that your chat box is open again. There's been some strange goings on at YouTube. In that, I seem to have access back to the Nun2K account. It has been demonetized, and I'm not allowed to monetize it, at least until something, I don't know, I've got to reread what it's telling me. I'm not really understanding what it's saying, but it, I put in an appeal, which was quite strange. I haven't bothered trying to get into the Nun2K account for, well, a month or more, I wouldn't think. And I did, for whatever reason, the other day, and this box popped up and said, if you would like to appeal, you can do so here. And I thought, oh, all right, well, I'll appeal for access. So I wrote a very polite letter. I didn't tell them all the things they were doing wrong, and I said that I was improving and getting better at not mentioning things like the spicy dart by name, or the spicy cough. And I'm getting better at understanding their terms and conditions and how I may have breached them in the past, and I make every effort not to do that, which is quite true. I do. Sometimes things just slip out because you get a bit emotional about things, or you want to tell the truth. That happens too, and YouTube don't like that generally, particularly if it pertains to information of a doctorial kind. So I pointed out that all of the strikes I've received essentially have been under that error, or that breach of their terms and conditions, their social media policies, all the what they go on with. In my appeal, I pointed out that I don't say anything that is not supported by government policy. And in fact, governments around the world have changed their policy significantly. Thank you, Seb, for your donation, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I pointed out that the information that their information is based on has changed in many parts of the world, and that their policies of the doctorial kind, I don't want to say what it is, but you get the idea. The information surrounding that has changed. The base understanding from which the policies UTIRD have formulated, that policy in particular, have changed in governments around the world, in nations around the world. So if anything, their policy is now out of date and out of line with the majority of countries, certainly those that have general and free access to the internet. It's over. So I feel that whoever is in charge at UTIRD at the moment, I'm sure nobody looked at my appeal. An algorithm looked at my appeal, and I want to say that somewhere in the deep dark back end of UTIRD, algorithms have been changed, modified in some way to one degree or another in the last month or two, certainly more than that. I also wonder what it means for channels that have been simply removed. The Voice of Freedom channel was removed, just turned off, unplugged, and gone. And I lost access to None2K because of that. They were cross-linked. If you know how YouTube works, you've got a main email address you log in through, and then you have a safety or a secondary email address. Well, those two channels were cross-linked. One email address, the main, and the backup for the other, while the main for the other was the backup for the first. So when they pulled that, it pulled my access to both. And it's taken, well, however long it's been off now for me to gain access back to the None2K channel. Still not fully. I only discovered this late this afternoon. But I will go into it tonight and have a little bit of a look. So maybe that might be why there are chat boxes appearing. Is there a like button if you happen to be watching through the None2K YouTube channel? Is there a like and a subscribe button? If you're not already subscribed, would you please do it? It's been an interesting exercise to watch how UTIRD have been blocking the like button and the subscribe button, particularly on this channel, on the None2K channel. This channel was building followers significantly about 2 years ago, when all of a sudden it stopped. We started noticing that there was a big difference in the reaction we were getting from emails and turning up in places and people coming up and talking and 200 or 300 people turning up to have a chat at events I happened to be at. We knew the effect was much larger, and in fact I had one particular gentleman who contacted me through a university who wanted to run a test, if you like, where he was going to get 1,500 people. He said he had access to 1,500 people who could, all within the time frame of the show, log in and hit like and subscribe. And I gave him starting numbers from prior to that show. And a couple of days later, we got to sit down and discuss the findings of that particular show. So we had 1,500 people who liked and subscribed to that one particular show. I got one new subscriber and no likes for that show. And yet we know there were 1,500 thumbs up and there were 1,500 subscribers, of which 1,499 didn't get it. I've also heard many people tell me, and I don't know if it still goes on now, but certainly this is going back, 2 years now, where YouTube removed the ability to subscribe to this channel. There was no subscribe button, and they removed the like button as well. However, through various different means, people were at times still able to join, and when that became difficult, the Voice of Freedom channel started up, and many people went and signed up there as well. Now, I'm sure between the two channels, we've got a few double ups, but this channel was growing significantly quickly to the tune of, some 1,000 or more people a week were subscribing to it at that time. I genuinely have no real idea of how many people watch this show. The analytics that I get through YouTube and have had limited access to in the last 2 years, very limited access to, indicate a number of very, very positive things. However, it still says I have the same amount of subscribers that I had 2 years ago, and nothing's changed there. 10,672, I think it is. Occasionally, I'll get an analytic analysis of my analytics, and it'll tell me that I've had 14 people leave, and yet my actual subscriber number is up 250. So YouTube numbers, as far as I'm concerned, for the Voice of Freedom at least, cannot be relied upon as an accurate representation of the audience that watches this. So if you are watching this tonight, and I can see that there's, at the moment there's about 350, say just between 352 and 359.60, it looks like at the moment, bouncing between different platforms. That's about all I can expect and hope for on the bandwidth that I'm able to generate. Bear in mind, I'm not broadcasting to one channel, I'm broadcasting to 7. So there are 7 bits of bandwidth going out, and I'm only counting 3 channels. That this counter only sees 3 of those. So it doesn't count who's watching on Rumble or through Cairns News or anything else. So the audience I know, though, is much larger than what our YouTube figures would indicate. And thank you to everybody. If you haven't already done so, please go over to our Rumble channel and subscribe to that. That is the Voice of Freedom. Subscribe to that channel. Those numbers are growing significantly as well. However, I am seeing evidence the same kind of thing is happening over there. And they are owned by the same company, YouTube and Rumble. They're just different arms of the same octopus. However, the terms and conditions are a little more loose over there for whatever reasons. And you don't quite, I don't think, get the ads that you may get on YouTube. And while there are ads, I can tell you that there's no great revenue generated from it. In fact, we got a payment last week, I think, from Rumble, and it was $62 something. So, and that wasn't because we're not getting a lot of views. It's just that they don't pay very much. They don't pay like YouTube pay or whatever. And just back onto YouTube for a moment, if they are going to restore channels, the Voice of Freedom may well come back up. And I'm pretty confident the Aussie Cossack would like to get his 156 to 170,000 subscribers back on YouTube as well. Although what content he would be putting up now from inside the consulate, I'm not sure. I was speaking with Sean Ambrose, as you know, the other day, and Sean is in contact with the Cossack quite a lot. So unsurprisingly, I wasn't joking. Lots for roaming the streets of the protests and getting people to talk. He's also doing a lot of very deep historical stuff as well. That's more on his bat. He is a wealth of historical information, our Mr. Ambrose, and well, I'll let him tell the story. He did one night in Singleton, an old show in Singleton, and might have been the night Ricardo came to town, I want to say. If not, it was around that time. And he'll tell you very interesting history that he has, and in the family, I mean. So yeah, his historical knowledge is absolutely amazing. So okay, chat box is working, Margot. We're pleased to hear that. Let me just put my reading glass. Oh, hang on, I found them. Where did I put them? Let's have a change of glasses. So I've got a vague idea. Oh God, bloody mouse has run away with me. Have a change of glasses, and I don't have to go lifting things up. G'day, Daniel. There you go. First name I see when you come in. ASIC is toast. I haven't heard or seen any news about that, but if you have some, stick some down the bottom there. I'd love to be hearing all about that. G'day, Harm. Hope you're well. Byron Bay keeping you good. Another cold night expected, brother. So rug up, probably wet too. Been wet down along the coast all day today, so I hope things are going well for you, mate, and the motorhome travel nicely. Rach, what are you saying here? You're losing interest in a lot of what is not happening. Much is a waste of your time. I think a lot of people feel that way. That said, you love us all, and time here, the only place you feel connected. Oh, God love you. Well, we love having you here, Rachel, and I'm glad you feel that way. It makes me feel warm all over. I know Sunflower will love that, and Aussie Sue and Michelle. And they are the three, I have to say, I believe, mainly responsible for the love and the feeling that comes out of that chat room. Those three individuals put nothing but love into what we do here, and I can't thank them enough for their support. And for their sharp eye in the chat. But I've never been much of a person for chats. I've always found them to be vicious little dens of ego that, people somehow become empowered and brave when they've got a keyboard in front of them, and yet, will say exactly the opposite to your face if given the opportunity. I hate that kind of thing. So I really didn't involve myself in chat rooms or chats much through the internet age. The chat that we have here, I just love it. Even the trolls that come in here, eventually we win them over or they leave. They may not win over to our side of the argument, but they stop the trolling. They might raise questions, and that's fair and fine. But there's no point in trolling, no point in pointing the finger and being, smart ass or, and I don't think we get too much of that. I see very little of it in the chat, but then again, I see very little of a lot of the chat. But from what I hear from Sunflower, pardon me, who emails me occasionally, we don't get, trolls, the really bad ones that some others do attract for whatever reason. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. But I think it's down to you lot that we have this great chat room, this great family, and we do care about people. I don't know what's happened to Veronique, because I don't get to say her name much anymore. Now, I don't know if it's something I said. God knows there's been a few Bosie lovers who put a line through my name after a few of the things I've said recently. And that's sad. That really hurts me, because there isn't a reason to draw a line through me or Bosie at the end of the day. If he wants to come out and explain the questions that people have, rather than ignore them totally or deem them irrelevant. And I'm getting emails from Americans every day asking me to explain what's going on, and Canadians as well. G'day, Jace. Well, I think Guru explained it pretty well when he had everybody associated with what the the problem is from Jacob Oud all the way through. But Ricardo seems to only want to address one of those issues, and the other two are probably the greater ones that need addressing if he wants to actually build something here and move forward. But it doesn't appear that that's what he wants to do. So what do you do? Anyway, we'll move on. Plenty happening in the Trump world. Trump is calling for military tribunals. I haven't been on Telegram since very, very early this morning. So if he is doing that there, I haven't seen it. I certainly haven't seen it in mainstream or heard it anywhere. But fingers crossed that's exactly what's happening. I'll have a little bit on Trump very soon. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Suze. Don't forget to like and share. Vince won't be joining us tonight, folks. Vince's daughter, he might be watching. And hello, if you are, buddy. I hope all's going well. But Vince's daughter is undergoing some laser surgery for an eye thing tonight. And I think he's sitting bedside waiting for her to pop out and recover there. Nothing serious. I think there's plenty of people in this audience who probably had laser surgery before, so you know what she's in for. All right, let me get down to where there might be a couple of questions. Crunch, yep, that's what it looks like. They are setting Harris up for the Biden replacement, but we know that there are issues with her legality to run for president too. Not that they're insurmountable. Let's face it, Barack Obama was born in Kenya, and he had no problem becoming the president of the United States of America. It turns out, if you were listening to last Friday night's show when 107 was on, he alluded to the fact that Kamala Harris is not native-born American, that she's in fact British and was born in Spain. I don't know. I think that's what he said, at least. I haven't gone back and tried to check any or all of this out yet, but you can be damn sure that should she be put up as the next nominee, somebody's going to go looking for that information. And Obama was able to bury it for years. I don't think that she's an alternative. I think she's the stopgap, and they can put her up for 6 to 8 weeks and then have Michelle Obama step up. I did say, I think it was in last night's show, that it's too early for the Obamas to come out. They won't be able to sustain the momentum. There'll be too much of a wave, and they will crash out in the election as well. So they need to time their run so that Michelle Obama is riding the crest of that, I feel wave to the poll. And that means she can't come out before September. And I would think mid-September at the latest, because they'll have to have ballots and everything printed, and that'll take all of October. So, yeah, maybe even September. So I would say by the second week of September, if Barry hasn't announced himself, rather Big Mike hasn't announced himself as coming out, and I don't mean of the dress, I just simply mean out to run for president, then maybe that won't be happening. But I can't see Kamala, whatever it is, being. Do you? I don't see that as anything that's viable along that side of the road. Starseed's in the room. G'day, mate. Hope you're doing all right. Yes. Well, that'll be the same for us, Daniel. And one of the interesting things that Sean Ambrose will bring to the party again tomorrow night for the Friday Free-for-All is a discussion about some freedom of information pages that he has requested, or documents that he has requested, regarding elements of what you're talking about here, foreign registered administrations. You may have heard in the interview with him about the 7 Gaslight program. He was in the audience, and the question that he asked was related to parliamentary government rules regarding foreign registered businesses and our government working for them, essentially. There's a lot still to come out about that. And his papers, the ones that he has, well, got a hell of a story to tell you about how he got them. And there's more to come. So you'll find that pretty interesting, and he'll be on tomorrow night in the program. And I'm going to ask Tim Dwyer to join too if he's available. He may not be. I'd like him to come on for a couple of reasons. One, to have this bit of a discussion with Sean, but we've been working on a few things in the background, and I don't say together. It's sort of by fluke. So tomorrow night, if he is ready, we will present you one, possibly 2 items. And feedback. We would be looking for your feedback on that too. So yeah. It looks like Starseed's given us a lecture in the chat tonight, exposing his voluminous knowledge on all things out of this world. All right, so just trying to see. All right, we're into sold contracts. It's interesting the way that the chat goes, isn't it? I can't just sit here and read your chat, though. So, all right, I'll get down there. Scotty T's in the house. Hey, mate, hope you're doing all right. Daniel, I saw a comment of yours. Anthony, you're trying to figure out how to get out of your super. Nothing could be simpler if you get the help of Cass Smith and the team at Freedom Financial Solutions. Email me, carl@vofhq.com. I will push your email onto a lovely lady called Mary Jane, and Mary Jane will sort you out with a questionnaire and a Q&A thing. You answer a few questions. You'll essentially get all the tools you need. If you have questions before you sign the documents and send them back, there are multiple avenues for you to get those questions answered, including just through email through Mary Jane, or logging into a Q&A that Cass and Mary Jane do every week, where you can ask your questions of Cass or Mary Jane face to face. And you can also email them through, and they'll look after them that way too. But generally, the face-to-face, I think they do them on I can't be honest what night they do it, but it's in the evenings generally, and usually runs for an hour or so. Anybody who's interested in getting a self-managed super fund, taking control of your wealth, should check this out. So email me, carl@vofhq.com. I will forward that on to Mary Jane. I'm not going to send it to Cass at the moment. Cass is essentially having a break. She will do these lives and these other bits and pieces, but as you appreciate, she's just uprooted everything out of Canberra. She's moved it here, transposed her 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2 living areas, 6-car sort of house for a tiny house on a completely empty bit of land. So she's trying to get herself in order there. While she's done a great job of setting up the inside, now she's working on the outside, and it's taken a lot out of her. She's doing. The woman is a warrior in so many ways, folks. So many ways. Thank God she's on our side. That's all I can say. And be damn sure that her team at Freedom Financial Solutions is just on our side, just as much on our side So they're a great bunch of people to get behind, and they'll answer all your questions in every way, shape, or form. And I was speaking today to Michael from Ainsley Bullion, who you might choose to use if you get your super money out and want to convert it into metals. Ainsley Bullion, 50 years in the business this year, and partners to help us through what we're doing here at the Voice of Freedom and the Freedom Broadcasting Network. And hopefully we'll have more news on things from Ainsley coming up, including some advice on the crypto market. I'll always again soon. There is a lot of talk. The bull is moving. Should that mean something to you if you're in the crypto world? Anyway, that's coming up in the not too distant future. If you are buying 1/10 Ainsley rounds, which have proved phenomenally successful, and I'm heading down to Byron Bay hopefully next week to catch up with David, who set up the Byron Bob scheme in Byron Bay. Now, I know Harm is in Byron Bay at the moment, and he's trekking around. So I'm going to pop down and see Harm. We met some time ago back on the south coast of New South Wales, so I'm looking forward to catching up with him. And together we might explore the Byron Bob economy of Byron Bay. So I thought that'd be great. I'll go and get some Byron Bobs from Ainsley. You've got them all. More coming. The refinery is banging them out, so to speak. But they're not going to be available until maybe next week. What the bloody hell? Something's just come alive here. What the hell? I have just had a extremely strange occurrence with my computer, to a point where I'm now extremely confused and may have lost you guys completely. Oh, no, there you are. Oh, no, there you're not. Okay. I don't know if you're hearing that. I don't know if I'm still on. I don't even know if I'm on the right. Let me see what else there is going on here, because for some reason I have been kicked out of. Hang on. I might have found you back. Wow. Right. There is some weird shit going on here. Let me just get to that and turn that off. And maybe. All right. There's still a huge lag. This thing has opened multiple windows on me, folks. Sorry. And I can't work with that. Let me just see what it's. Just the kind of shit you need to have happen when Vince is not here, hey? Okay. Wow. That is such a bad lag. Let me turn that off. Huh. All right. I think I figured out what. Not that I know how it happened, but for some reason or other, it looked like Project Matilda came alive. My hands were off the controls. So my apologies for getting a bit off track there and can't remember what we were talking about. So there you go. Sunflower has entered the room. God love you. What's going on in the world? I saw something about a cancer unit. Now I've got to scroll up and find where you ended. Two big medical centres being built in Noosa. I heard today that Queensland Health is now going to be offering telehealth services from nurses and doctors rather than you having to go in anywhere. They will advise you what you should do, whether you should stay at home, whether you should get yourself to the hospital, what medications you might need. I gather if you do need a medication, they will just email through the prescription to your preferred supplier of prescription drugs, and all you've got to do is get there to get them. Would that be the case? Not sure. Okay, so there's a few chats there about the Tassie thing. Martin, what have Cossack, Bozy, Guru, and other freedom fighters been up to? Cossack's working for Russia and trying to figure out how to get there, I'm pretty sure. He's working for RT and Sputnik and basically reporting on Ukraine. He still can't step outside the consulate, and if he does, he faces arrest. I think now he's been in the consulate quite a long time. Must be coming close to a couple of 100 days. Oh, yeah. Has he been in a year? He's probably done more time inside the Russian consulate, a free man, than he ever would have done for charge they laid against him for walking into a police car park and, showing police cars. However, he seems to know what he's doing. He did manage to get Russian citizenship out of it. So, all was not lost. That's probably the best way to put that up. Thank you, Source Creator over on Rumble. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe over there, folks. Go and like and subscribe at the Rumble Voice of Freedom channel. Stop fiddling with my buttons. Sorry, it wasn't my buttons. It was my glasses case. Clapping it. So, yes, I've put it down now. All right. Getting down the bottom of all those. So Queensland at the moment is setting up a telehealth system whereby I guess you sit at home, wait for them to ring you, or you can sit on hold and watch their on-hold music. Is that what happens? I don't know. If you're still mad enough to actually think that they're there to help you, God love you. And I guess there are times where we all need to go and get help of some kind or another. But, I pray that it's not you or anybody you love who needs to go and see anybody in the medical fraternity anytime soon. There's so many worrying things there. Dusty. Oh, okay. So folks have been trying to like and subscribe, getting no response. I'm not getting any notifications on the YouTube channels, any of them. I am getting the Rumble one. It comes out, and occasionally I get a Facebook one. We're not being seen on the Wake Up channel anymore. Somehow that got taken over or whatever. I set that up, but maybe I left somebody else in control of it and they didn't like what I said. So anyway, I'm not too worried about that. Do I know if Cossack's missus is staying with him at the consulate? Yes, as far as I'm aware. She is allowed out, and I'm not sure if she has a job. She used to work at the consulate, so it'd be a bit of a bummer if she works and lives there now too again. But she has family outside in Sydney, so I'm last time I was talking to him, I mean, that's so long ago now, I couldn't tell you when. She was certainly with him at the consulate, as far as I'm aware, but she was able to go out. Whoever gets in, if they get the elections, the war won't be stopped. NATO has a thing to keep it going. Carl at VOFHQ.com. Crunchy, that would be where you could send me whatever you wanted. And if there's a number you want me to call you on, let me know and I'll call you. We can have a chat about it. I think I've got half an idea of what you might be alluding to there. I may be completely off the rails as well. So yeah, don't go thinking that. Okay, telehealth is all right. You have your chat, and then you get a text message with your script. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Hello, Becky O from Truth Seekers. You might be available tomorrow night too. I always like having the ladies' perspective when we've got a very blokey kind of show. So if you're available, honey, we'll talk, and I'll send you the link for tomorrow night's show. All right. Can we confirm Ricardo Umberto is indeed a Mongol? I cannot confirm or deny. Right. There's a couple of things I wanted to show you. Donald Trump. You've got to love the way he markets himself. There's no messing around. So there's a lot of talk today that happy July 4th, by the way, to anybody who celebrates, our American friends, and both here in Australia and overseas watching the show. Hope you're having a great celebration. Of course, by the time you watch this, if you're watching it live, it won't be July the 4th. It'll be very, very early. So hope you're having a great day. And God bless America, all those things. Trump today having a game of golf around the Mar-a-Lago course, one has to suspect. And there are, I hesitate to call them average Joes playing a round of golf and just happen to run into Trump as he's Trump golf cart. But that appears to be what exactly happened. Well, I'll show you the video first, but get a load of the way he leads into this conversation.
How did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh,
He
amazing.
kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so fucking bad. So,
I just can't imagine.
but can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they probably can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just keep knocking him out, right?
That's it.
So I've probably got two questions about the way he leads into that. Right. The first one is, how do you think that I went the other night? So he's fishing for an answer that will give him a direction as to which way the conversation is going. If there's a hesitation or there's a, oh, yeah, sure, you did all right, but, he's an old bloke, or trying to make excuses for Biden, he would have taken the conversation a different way. What was he paying for? What was he handing over? And I can't quite tell what denomination note that is. I'm not really familiar with American currency, but who's he tipping? What's he tipping? And I understand it's a tipping culture. I mean, you tip a bloke for taking the golf club out of the golf bag, but he didn't get a golf club taken out of the golf bag. All he did was drive himself somewhere and pause and ask some people what they thought he did, what they thought of his performance the other night. At which point, he then doesn't take questions like, if you're running into normal strangers, that kind of thing. He gives them a story, which I think is a very believable story, that indeed Biden will be out, probably by the end of this weekend. And as we spoke about earlier, every chance Kamala Harris will be put in until such time as they can wheel out Big Mike and ride that wave of support. Now, just think of how low Biden's current approval rating is. If you believe in polls, go and have a broad look at a number of polls, and any of the more believable ones will have Donald Trump miles ahead. There is one poll I saw come out today that had Trump leading 51-49, I think it was, Biden. I don't know how on earth anybody come up with that, but it must have been certainly in one of those very Biden strong states. there is a new map of America. It's mostly red. There's very little blue in it, and the general push, the general feeling for Trump is very, very positive. I've seen more questions, not maybe in tonight's chat, maybe it was in last night's chat, regarding his sentencing for the bullshit crimes he's been convicted of, and how that has now been pushed back until September, I want to say it is. I would suspect that it will never happen. It will never get to sentencing because of what's happened out of the Supreme Court in the last couple of days regarding presidential immunity. I don't think, given that he will appeal this case, and there's probably every chance that the appeal will be heard before the sentencing is heard, and therefore the sentencing won't be able to go ahead until the appeal has been heard. So we're still looking, even short term, at a couple of different legal aspects that have to play out. But it's a huge trap, folks. And the deeper the Democrats keep pushing this and pushing this and pushing this, it is the deeper they are moving into that trap. It is a brilliantly laid trap, which throws open or gets rid of large portions of precedent that have protected every president until Donald Trump. Now, pardon me, it can be used retrospectively, and every presidency can be reviewed, and every president can face charges, just like Donald Trump has. Now, those charges in Biden's case and the Obama's case would be about the theft, the embezzlement, the blackmail of millions and millions and millions of dollars, tens to hundreds of millions of dollars in corrupt payments they've accepted and hidden. And not many people, I don't know that a great deal of information has been released too broadly in the public about the Obamas' wealth after their 8 years in the White House. But you are going to see some amazing documents about that. And when you do, that American guy, I think I played it to you last night. Do I still have it here? If you missed last night's show, I can't remember if I played it or not, and I hope I did. If not, I'm going to play it now. There is an American guy who's extremely upset, and so he should be. The government sent him a bill for $700. And he doesn't have $700, but he decided he'd make a TikTok about it. Now, when you view this TikTok, remember that this guy is an American patriot. He is one of tens of millions of American patriots. And can I suggest hundreds of millions of well-armed, if not extremely motivated patriots who are having a very hard time in America at the moment, affording anything. Under Joe Biden, things have gone up 4 times what they were 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. In many cases, 4 times or more. Things like fuel and food, the basics. And now they're starting to experience some housing crises as well. Now, what happens when the rest of America starts to feel like this?
I got a bill today from the IRS for $700, and I'm gonna explain to the IRS why I don't fucking have it. First off, everyone that is inside of the federal government, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, I don't give a fuck. If you work up there, it's your fault. All of you have decided that printing money and destroying the economy is just totally fucking okay. A bag of Doritos went from $2 to $12 in 2 years, and you want money from me for doing that? On top of that, I don't have any money because you're taking 60% of what I make through my LLC and absolutely crushing small businesses. And on top of that, the only reason I'm a small business is because during the imagination period of the flu scare of 2019 until fucking forever, I guess, you mandated that I take an imagination shot that I didn't need and no one knew anything about. And if I didn't take it, you took my fucking career away from me. You took my ability to feed my child. You took that away from me. And for 2 years, I have sold t-shirts in parking lots, and I have worked this dead-end job at a gun store, and I have cut trees and mowed lawns and done anything I could. Everything I had to do just to feed my child. Not vacations, not new clothes, not a new truck, not thriving in my life, not living in my life, just surviving day to day. And if I don't pay you $700, I go to jail. What is slavery then?
Exactly. What is slavery? Well, when hundreds of Americans wake up like that one day, there'll be big changes in America, and unfortunately they'll be bloody. But I don't for 1 second doubt that there are many Australians who feel exactly like that bloke, just as strongly. And fortunately or unfortunately, they're not armed. They don't have the ability to take up arms. So what do? Do we go back to Canberra for a weekend? Well, I don't think that's going to work. But by the look of it, we'll be able to get onto the roof of Parliament House this time. My, how things have changed. I'm just thinking back to even earlier this year when I was in Canberra for the farmers' protest. You weren't allowed to climb up the side of Parliament House, up on top of the roof. The grass was all barred off. You weren't allowed to go up there. And there were plenty of police around to stop you, in effect, going into Parliament House. So they were questioning everybody who wanted to go in and have a bit of a look. Here we have a bunch of Palestinian protesters who've not only managed to somehow get around the ACT police and the AFP and protective services, but have not just managed to climb the grassy knoll, so to speak, but they've been able to climb onto the glass roofed portico of that place and hang a couple of flags over the top. I'm sorry, I meant to suck in some pictures of it, but I haven't. Otherwise, I'd show you exactly what they did. But I commend them for doing it. Marvelous effort. I want to know how they did it, because our mate Paul Offey with the Freedom Truck, his truck is still locked up in an impound yard somewhere out the back of Canberra, rusting away with a broken window. It's had 2 winters now through it. 3rd winter it'll be going through now. The truck will be destroyed. They have effectively wrecked this guy's $200,000 investment. They are still screwing around just unbelievably. I'm waiting to hear about a new hearing date. We should have that in the next day or 3. If we don't have it already, I haven't spoken to Michael. We might have it now. They screw around this kid whose brain has had 3 assaults on it, and he's taken damage. They've taken his livelihood. They've put both him and his entire family through a huge amount of stress and financial stress. And yet, there's a bunch of Palestinians protesters who got onto the roof of the portico at Parliament House. How? The place is tighter than a fish is, well, you know, and somehow they were let up there. Was there help? maybe mainstream media will have a story for us tomorrow that Muslim senator, formerly Labor senator, has resigned from the party and will run as an independent next time round. Her husband is a West Australian Labor staffer. Did you know that? I've forgotten his name exactly, but he is a West Australian staffer for the Labor Party. That'd be those bastards there who've come up with the "Don't Assume You're Immune" campaign. God love you if you're in Western Australia. I fear for you too. I really, really fear for you. Yeah, wow. Now, listen, while I haven't heard that it's actually happening, there does seem to be some memes running around. Take from that what you will. I mean, absolutely positive he did the interview. When are we going to see it? Well, it really depends. I suspect they wouldn't have risked uploading it on the internet. They would keep the footage very tight. I'm led to believe that Tucker is back in the States this week at some stage. And I'm going to show you, he is going to be doing a tour in their fall. So that's September. And just get a load of this. So here are some of the dates from September 4. I gotta say, if you're going to be in America and you're looking for a tour, this is the kind of tour you could follow every night and have a different speaker every night. Russell Brand on September 4, Vivek Ramaswamy on September 5 in California. In Colorado, he'll be with Tulsi Gabbard and Dr. Kevin Roberts. Glenn Beck in Utah and Salt Lake City. Dan Bongino in Oklahoma. Megyn Kelly in Kansas City with Charlie Kirk in Wichita. And, Kid Rock further down in Grand Rapids, all that kind of thing. Roseanne Barr's going to be with him on the 24th of September in Fort Worth, Texas. If you happen to be over there, that might be a one you'd want to get a ticket to. She'll make it funny and very cutting, have no doubt. Donald Trump Jr. will appear with him September 28th in Florida. So if you are interested and you happen to be going to America at that time, just saying, what a tour, those names. I mean, Clive did his best, honestly. I thought he did a bloody great job bringing Tucker Carlson along with Dinesh D'Souza and their entourages and Dr. Melissa McCann from here, who is conducting a very, very significant class action, which hopefully we will be able to get her on to talk about next week with the end of the Tucker Carlson thing. And I'm sure she's taking a little bit of a break after that whirlwind rush around the country. So hopefully we'll be able to get a slot with her one day next week and have a bit of a chat. I have seen a thing that Hoodie and Co have put out about the 7 Gaslight program from last week. They're doing some pretty good work, I have to admit, and they're delving deeper into it. In fact, they're looking into the backgrounds of everybody on that panel and their associations with Big Pharma. I'd be very interested to find out how connected that professor is to Big Pharma and how much Big Pharma donates to his particular area of the university that he's involved with. So that and more. And it looks like they've got quite a team behind them to do that. I'd love to do it, but there is only me and only so many hours in the day. And unfortunately, I don't know that I make the best use out of all of them, but by God, I'm trying. So that's how life, the universe, and everything is crumbling at this point in time, folks. I'm going to... yeah. You heard Tucker Carlson got angry at the Tucker dog in Goulburn. Well, no wonder he got angry, because the Tucker dog in Goulburn is a sheep. The dog on the Tucker box is in Gundawindi. No, what's Gundagai? No, where? Not Gundawindi. Gundagai, along the Hume. You can actually park and have lunch beside it. I have, though not from Oliver's, just between you, me, and the gatepost. So yes, if I was Tucker, I'd be angry, because if they were expecting to see a dog and they saw that sheep, that would have been a shock. Quite a shock, I would have thought. Jack, you raise a very significant point. Muslims can't get Australian citizenship without committing fraud. You're right. The concern for me, her husband is an Aussie guy, and he wants more Muslims in the parliament, and said that she shouldn't resign because she has more ability to attract more Muslims into the Labor Party, particularly. And what we need is more Muslim representation. I'm a bit concerned about our representation. I was having a conversation today with somebody who's deeply distressed, works in a government department, is deeply distressed about some of the things that are going on in that department, from a phenomenal wastage of money to the cover-ups to the active managerial directions to keep handing out the money. Keep handing out the money. Keep handing out the money. Doesn't matter what excuse or how much previously. In fact, I've heard stories today of people who've had access to a couple of $100,000 a year as a budget for their care, who have been paid that all in one hit, and 2 weeks later are ringing up demanding more money and getting it. I've heard stories today of court cases. People who have been defrauding this particular system have been taken to court, and we, the people, have lost. If I went into details about one of these cases, you would be appalled at the benefits that this one particular person gets, including enough money to buy themselves a nice little $80,000 sports car and free trips to Melbourne and Sydney on us, amongst other things, a lot of other things. I've heard stories today of doctors who are claiming support and getting the paperwork done by other doctors so that they are able to gain the maximum amount and level of support. One of these doctors I heard today, I have no proof, but I heard today, had a budget of $800,000 given to her. $800,000. And she's still practicing. How's that work? Oh, yes, eventually the fraud department might get to look at it. Eventually. And then, because of the way that this act was written, the laws are so weak, so useless, so filled with holes, that we, the people, the government's case, doesn't really have a snowball's chance in hell of winning. And then we become liable for the court costs and everything else. This is because of the incompetence of the people we elected to that place to make those laws. These laws in particular were made under the auspicious oversight of the red-headed clown and Kevin Runt. And they are handled, I think that's probably a nice way of saying it, handled by one of the senior Labor Party people at all times, and Right now, that happens to be one of the most senior and one of the most adept at dealing with backroom deals and shafting we the people, Bill Shorten. One day I hope to be able to tell you the full story of what I've been told. At the moment, it's just hearsay. But if any of this is borne out to be true, we should be absolutely horrified and demand these people brought to justice, not just the ones in the parliament, in the bureaucracy dishing it out, but the bastards ripping us off. Because it's not the person in the wheelchair that can't speak or move that's doing the ripping off. I won't say any more about it, but it shouldn't be too hard to figure out who is. And it's costing us billions. I shit you not. So, Dusty, yeah. You've seen the same people I've seen. Some Ukrainian generals, if you didn't catch this, have been caught buying Lamborghinis, beach houses in, well, what must be nice parts of Europe, but I guess when you have beaches like we do in Australia, you don't consider too many in Europe as places you'd like to go and have a thing, but maybe Saint-Tropez, I don't know. These generals have been all part of the fraud that's been perpetrated against the world and now enjoying the spoils of war, so to speak. Yeah, so that's just how it is. Hey, Murray River. It's always the little people getting ripped off by the big companies. 100% right. We are here, as the American guy said, are we slaves? So we got to stand up. We got to find people in our midst who will stand up and do better. Maybe you're that person. Maybe you know somebody like that and you would get on their team and support them if they were to stand. There's no point pointing the finger and say, oh, Jim or Jack or Jill will do it, unless you're going to get there right beside them and push them. Support them. Let others know to support them. Get behind them. Do the hard yards. Hand out the buttons. Work the flyers. Pump the hands. Get the votes. If we have to have this farce of a fucking political system, then let's make it so that when they do steal it from us, and they will, it is so blatantly obvious that we will not stand for it. And then maybe we go back to Canberra. There are 2 Parliament houses, remember. The old one has a great deal of significance, which we might learn about tomorrow night with Mr. Dwyer, if we can have him on for a chat. So, well, there's going to be a few things we might learn about. Good on you, Diane. I think that part has merit. If you stop the money supply to government, things will happen. And yes, they can throw paperwork at you and legal systems and all that, but it takes years to process through all that, and this won't take years. They can't run on no money for years. In fact, I would go so far as to suggest this: if we all refuse to pay bills, if we all refuse to pay anything government, month and a half, 6 weeks, 8 weeks tops, it would crumble. They would need to come to the table. Problem is, who do we send to the table to represent us? Because we know we can't trust our representatives to represent us anymore. Most of them are solid gold bought and paid for. Who by? Got to assume China for the most part, but maybe not. Maybe others are involved. Maybe darker forces are involved. And by that, I don't suggest Putin or Z. Well, maybe Z, but certainly not Putin. And I don't have to live in the Russian consulate or be paid by Russian media to say Putin, 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 Putin. Didn't say it as energetically as Tucker Carlson, but then again, I don't have that bit of hair at the moment out the front either. All right, listen, I'm starting to blather on, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to disappear off and try and warm up because it's flaming cold tonight in the bus, and I'm having one of those. I'm sure people who are on the road all the time have these issues, and they've got, and I know what the fix for my issue is. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be an issue, but somehow my fix that I have employed for this issue failed this time round, and I have misplaced a key. And that key opens up the locker that contains my LPG bottles, which I require to make my gas heater work in the bus. I'm buggered if I can find this key. So if anybody happens to know a way to pop a bin locker on a Winnebago that's locked without destroying it, but I guess if I've got to put a drill through it, I will, because it's getting too friggin' cold not to. I've run out of gas in the bottle I'm connected to. I do have another full bottle in there. I just can't get to it. So yeah, pick it. That's the theory. I think somebody has actually had a go at it. Looks to me like somebody's jammed a screwdriver in there at some stage. Not me, like prior. But I have had a key in and out of it, so I should, in theory, be able to pick it. Cracker Carlton Coldy. Thanks, Ads. I'll have to go and watch a lock-picking video on the Tube of Ubness and teach me how to do it. Dusty, thank you so much for your inspired donation to the conversation. It will be exactly in the last place I looked. And, I look, and I continue, because I thought I'd looked in all the last places, but it appears there is still one last one eluding me. I've even taken to going through the grass around here, thinking that, I've dropped it in the grass, but pretty much all the grass on one side of the bus now is gone because it's the walking side, and the other side is kept pretty flat simply because it's on a very steep hill and the goats don't mind eating the grass there. So I haven't found them there anywhere. But anyway, picking it is probably the best idea. You're right. So I'll have to see what I can do about that. I should spring tree. My Thai smiling assassin, I think, has left the country. I get no more text messages offering me free 3-hour massage or not to pay for any of the chiropractic work I had to have done for the weeks afterwards to put me back in alignment. So anyway, no, missed out on that one. There you go. Yeah, Crunch, you're on the right road there. Nobody can fix it. You're right. The good Lord it's in his hands and his timeline. But I feel that timeline is a moving forward, folks. It's a moving forward. And I don't know what you are for historical memories or if you want to go back and check, but we said this would be exactly what happened back when the 2020 election took place. Outlined what I thought would be probably a legal way forward. I'm not saying I told you so. I'm just saying if I could see it, many others could see it. And while we keep saying it's a movie, it's hard not to get involved with it at times. It's hard not to get emotional about it. But I still trust the plan. Still trust the plan. I'm seeing enough. I'm hearing enough to believe there is a huge amount going on in the background. I've still had no confirmation of Nasara Jassara coming live anywhere in the world. People are talking about the Iraqi dinar having gained a bit of value recently, but I'm not exactly sure if that is. I have no historical reference to that, so I can't talk that up or down. But anyway, eyes open, mind open, always question. Never take something said for gospel. Always do your own research. Always question. Never simply swallow whatever bullshit. I was going to try and put a nicer word on it, but it's not. It is bullshit that they are trying to force down. Resist at every opportunity. Do not comply with the bullshit they are introducing that is restraining you, your life, your ability to live a free life. It has to stop. And maybe one of the ways that it stops is by starting to get people who really represent us in a place that really is for all Australians before it's for Ukraine or any other leftard fantasy fraud happening in the world. And on that note, enjoy your night. Avoid the dickheads on the road. Love you lots, folks. You can always donate at vofhq.com. We love your help. Thank you.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!